Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to a very special OpenShift Commons briefing. It's the Pre-Kubecon warm-up session and survival guide with myself, Diane, Jen Madriaga, and Josh Berkus. Diane, I'll hand it off to you since it's your OpenShift Commons briefing, and thank you very much for having it, though.
Well, I thought it was an appropriate thing as this is Friday the 13th. Yeah, so everybody, I didn't want to do anything really super serious on Friday the 13th. No driving, no playing with knives, nothing like that today. So I figured I would invite three of my closest Red Hat friends, Jen, Josh, and Chris, and we could talk about how we prep and how to prep for the massive week that's ahead of us all at KubeCon North America, which is starting next week. And whenever I think about KubeCon, I kind of have this sense of that I'm playing buzzword bingo in a massively large bingo card that is incredibly hard to fathom and figure out where to do anything. So I thought that I would, rather than try and play this game, I may play this game during KubeCon myself and send out some sheets here, because I did find a great website for doing this. Buzzword bingo call sheets, print them, boom, we're in there. But so I kind of wanted to start off, though, rather than diving into what your favorite session is to make everybody do something fun. Because the fun part of these conferences is, besides the hallway conferences and seeing Chris and Jen and Josh in person, is swag. And what I loved about the definition of swag here is one of the definition was money or goods taken by a thief or a burglar. I'm like, that is so describes the mad dash at every conference I've ever been to. So,
and that's the informal definition, no less, which is weird.
Yeah, if you've ever staffed a booth or at Red Hat or any other vendor booth or anything else, like even in the open source section where they have stickers galore, it is crazy. The people who come through with the bags and just all their stuff in there. So I'm going to give everybody a few minutes here who's on here, Chris and Jen, and I'll stop sharing the screen for a minute and make you go off and find your favorite piece of swag. And if you're watching, following along here somewhere, please share in the chat what your favorite swag is. And while they're doing that, I am going to unpack the swag I got from KubeCon for being a speaker this time around. I don't know if you can see this, but I thought the best part of it, was because it's virtual, they gave us slippers from home. Okay. Nice. So, yeah, not that I didn't already score a million of these from that. And I am not even going to tell you what this is. I think this remains to be guessed. But just so that nobody thinks it's some sort of strange, it is
cat toy.
No, it couldn't. It is supposed to be a back thumper. So there it is. Yep, that's not what I thought it was. And
got one of those. It's called a Theracane.
I got a strange little slinky-like toy, but a bag that's totally reusable for other swag. So yes, slinky toy. And let's see, I hope you're all gathering your stuff. And there was another thing in here. Oh, I don't know, I might have already put it away. Oh, this was the best. There was a little pin, speaker's pin, which has already been absconded with by some teenager who came over the other day. But this is handy, all right? This is like what you get when you go to the hotel room. It's like,
nice.
Quietly. Because I have thought at my house many a time of putting up one of those on the air, off the air lights on the outside, so that when I'm doing a talk like this one with y'all, I don't get interrupted by UPS or the garbage man or anybody else. So I was thinking that would be a interesting thing to do. So
it's funny you mentioned that. I actually have on-air lighting for my house and family notification thing. So I have 2 Amazon buttons that do that for me. so that
Wow.
hue lights, push a button, turns a red light on down here, and turns the stairwell down to the office red.
I just madly wave whoever is in the background away.
I'm not that good. I'm not that good.
Like I have the visual cue for a 5-year-old is way better than like daddy's working, right? Like the visual of, oh, daddy is on the air. It's better. Very, very much very telling.
What have you got for swag that's nearby?
I realize that my kid has all the cool swag, but I did find this guy. So this is from OpenStack Summit, I think, from Sydney, Australia, which was 3 years ago. And I think this was at the, I'm guessing, well, it's one of the Chinese vendors. I can't read what it is. But anyway, this was the closest thing I could find. But I have a collection of really cool swag pins. I realized my son has them all in his backpack.
Yeah, that's what happens with the pins. It's great.
So,
my best.
And then, yeah.
What's your favorite one that you've ever gotten?
In terms of swag pins?
Or
I mean, I think my
swag anywhere.
That's hard. I like the swag pins because you can, display those easily. I mean, I like the one that I myself produced it for Red Hat Summit. Oh, actually, yeah, I love the ducks. And actually, I love the RDO ducks. Yeah, I have an entire collection of RDO ducks. Those are up in the bathtub because my son actually uses, I shouldn't tell him because he's 11. He's going to be humiliated. I just revealed that. Because I've been collecting these RDO ducks. He's been collecting those RDO. I've been collecting them for years. So he's got this really extensive collection. And he still likes to play with them, and he's in middle school. Oh my gosh, I can't believe he just said that. He's not around. It's okay.
Yeah, you don't get it twice. So, Josh, what's your favorite swag, and what did you find nearby?
Well, a couple of things. I mean, the nearest by thing is these little flashlight metal cubicle flashlights we had made for the release of Metal Cubed. One of the pieces of swag that we actually had produced that I kept one of because it's really useful for looking for things under my desk. Best piece of speaker swag I ever got is this thing from GopherCon.
Yes.
So one of Ashley's little gophers in a race car. They're really awesome little stuffed animal.
I had to buy 3 because one for show, one for me to play with, and one for Max to play with. Yeah.
Yeah. But the one I probably use the most is one that I got last KubeCon for being an ambassador, and it's this one.
Yeah, that one's good. That's a good one. That's a good one.
So, yeah.
Stolen too. Everything gets stolen. All the good stuff gets stolen at my house. I have a box that I put it all in when I come back, and whenever I do my maker stuff, the kids just go through that and take whatever stickers they want. So yeah, that's nice. Good. So what is the strangest thing that you've ever gotten?
And I didn't have time to dig through because like anything I don't actually want goes in boxes to give out at the meetup, which I have quite a bit of since we haven't been able to have a meetup in person for a while. And I didn't have time to dig through. I was trying to think. Oracle has been giving out these little dancing robots for a while. And like at every conference. And what's really amusing about them is that they fall over. Which seems like a bad message.
Yeah. I think it's an appropriate message, but I'm just going to say that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Saying things I shouldn't be saying.
Like, what are you guys saying with this anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Works for just long enough.
I was telling everybody before we went on the air what my favorite or the strangest swag I ever got was, and I have to do the clean version of it. I was at an OpenStack Summit years ago. I'm pretty sure it was in Boston, and I can't remember the vendor's name, but I got a pair of black boxer shorts with maximum uptime printed on them. Yeah.
Terrifically inappropriate. Yes.
Totally inappropriate, but I trust me, I kept them for a long, long time, but some partner of mine disappeared them at some point. So she's probably, hopefully they've got them somewhere. But I think Justin's run out of the room now that I've said maybe he has a pair of them somewhere. I would love to remember who that was because I just first of all, it's completely inappropriate, but it was hilarious, and it was the hottest hotcake thing swag at the event. But I'm sure, like now with all the D&I, that had to have been 6
Years
years
ago.
ago.
Yeah, that had to be a while ago.
Yeah, something close to that. Yeah, it's been a while.
Been a while. What's the strangest thing you've ever gotten, Jen?
I'm just trying to debate whether I've seen some strange swag that I haven't taken. I think I remember there was like a I'm trying to remember there was this storage shirt that someone was producing, and it had something kind of inappropriate related to size on it and protection. There was also this piece of swag that became very notorious, and it was with I want to say prophylactics involved.
Oh,
That's
Okay.
probably one of the most notorious ones I've seen, but I didn't take that as a souvenir, but that's been called out. So nothing that I took and owned, because I went, that's just kind of skeezy. But
I kind of think now in the virtual world that one of the hardest things is to deliver swag, right? So, trying to get a T-shirt across an international border, we had a fiasco with OKD where after all the shipping and everything, it was like $70 to send a T-shirt to, Waleed and we just said no. We said, we'll send you something.
Well, and there's some places we can't send T-shirts to at all right now.
At all, yeah.
And that kind of and knowingly that changes every like other week.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to share my screen again and talk a little bit about the schedules. So that's the swag dash. I figured that was be a fine thing to do. So if we go to here, I have redhat.com. We have a bunch of sites here that make it really super easy if you're trying to find Red Hat things. So I thought I would share that if you wanted to, let me see, if view present mode here, so it's get a big there, so you can QR code that. And Veronica Cooley and Jen and the whole team have done a wonderful job making this happen. And so there's that. I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to on day 0. This is going to be a long week. Okay, this is Tuesday. All right, and I don't know about the rest of you, but there's KubeCon and I'm talking at one other conference on Thursday, some Canadian academic masterclass on cloud computing, and on Monday, the whole week is Lesbians Who's Tech Week, so they kind of collide, my two favorite conferences. So I will be on like multiple terminals all week. So, but day 0, which is Tuesday, I will be at the OpenShift Commons gathering, hosting and moderating that, and my good friend Chris Short here is going to be doing a variation on that called I don't know, did we officially call it Mystery Science Theater does OpenShift Commons, live streaming it in the background and running commentary, hopefully not on my hairstyles.
No, we definitely intend for it to be very cordial and polite, unlike some of the Mystery Science Theater 3000 of old, right? Like it might have been cutting or kind of, stabbing at the bad production potentially, but this will be a enlightening Mystery Science Theater kind of event.
So that's kind of the big thing for me on Tuesday. The last day I'm going to be hosting the OKD working group meeting too. But what I thought I would make everybody do is kind of show us your schedule. And by what I mean by that is if you, I see if I have mine up here correctly. I'm trying to be better about this. Because if you try and manage your way through this whole thing that is here, let's see if you can I can go to my schedule and pick out. I have a few friends. That's nice to know. People who are my friends. That's interesting. I never noticed that part of it before. So there's the OpenShift Commons gathering, and there's a whole tons of things that that I want to go to. Some that I have to go to. I am giving a keynote on that. I'm like 5 minutes of the fastest talking I've ever done on Wednesday. But what I really highly encourage people to do is, especially if it's a project they're interested in, don't know a lot about, is to go to the Meet the Maintainer sessions. Those are great. I'm definitely I've got a kind of sporadic group of things in here at different times, but I think what I try and tend to do is go to as many of the end user talks as I could find. And I was a little surprised at how few end user case studies there were on the menu. And so that was kind of interesting. Is a lot more technical focus, and there's a few. I'm going to go there. This one I thought was really cool. The high schooler's guide. We always have somebody there who makes you feel like you should be a grandparent now. And this one, this guy has been doing a lot of work around Kubernetes. So I'm definitely going to tune in and see what he's doing here. But there's a ton of stuff here. So what I thought I would do is I'll go back and my slides here, because I'm going to make Josh go first. And this was the couple of slides that he was talking about. So Josh.
Yeah, so I'm going to be spending a lot of my conference time off campus because, among other things, Chris and I are going to be running these office hours sessions. So one of the things that the main KubeCon program doesn't really permit you to do is have sessions that have high interactivity with the project maintainers. And it's just because of the platform required to do video broadcast to so many people. So we thought we would hold a few sessions where we would bring project maintainers for projects that Red Hat sponsors, or other experts, and have them there to answer your questions. And so you can get to this from the Red Hat landing page. You can get to this. These are all going to be in OpenShift TV. So this is also on the OpenShift TV schedule. All of these sessions. We're going to start with members of the Knative team talking about answering your questions on serverless applications, followed by members of the Ceph team answering your questions about Rook. And then the KubeVirt folks are going to talk about using Kubernetes to run your VMs. And actually, that particular session, because this is what they're looking at, they're going to spend a lot of time talking about and answering your questions about getting to KubeVirt 1.0, which is where the project is right now. Red Hat Agile team is going to be talking about implementing GitOps. So if GitOps is something that you have heard of, but you don't really know what it is, or you know what it is, but you don't know how it relates to your actual production environment at work, then that would be a great session to come to. You can ask questions about it. Because we get a lot of questions about certifications at these conferences, the Red Hat certifications team is going to be holding a Q&A. So if you're interested in getting your OpenShift certification or even your RHEL certification, and you had questions, that's the place to come. And then going to wind up with our developer advocates talking about the features and answering questions about the features in 4.6. So if any of these interest you, please come and please bring your questions. I mean, these are here. We're doing these specifically off the KubeCon platform so that we can spend time directly answering your questions.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things is to have that sort of interactivity too. There'll be chat rooms and the booth and all kinds of other fun stuff inside of the platform that they're using. I think it's Intrado again. But what's been really difficult is finding great ways to host workshops and hands-on and really have some high interactivity. So this, I think, will be a great opportunity for folks if you're interested in these topics. So that's that.
Oh, yeah, and speaking of swag from earlier, by the way, if you do bring a question to one of these sessions and you ask your question and we answer it on air, then we will also send you a T-shirt, assuming that you live in a country we can send T-shirts to.
Right.
There being a couple of exceptions.
Yeah.
But for anybody else, we will mail you a T-shirt.
Cool. So what's on this nice slide?
So this is a list of a bunch of the sessions that are being led by Red Hatters. Whole another page of ones that are maintainer sessions. I actually realized that a couple of no, they're not missing. Okay, there's two different programs of KubeCon, right? There's the regular sessions and there's the maintainer sessions. So the regular sessions are the ones that go through the normal submission process and are chosen for being appropriate presentations and everything. And there's the maintainer sessions, and basically every Kubernetes SIG, every CNCF project, every CNCF SIG is entitled to one of those, and they put together a presentation about something that they have going on right then. And because Red Hatters are involved in so many of those groups, they're involved in so many of those presentations. I don't have the maintainer session list. Just kind of assume that if you go to maintainer session, there's probably going to be a Red Hatter on the panel. But we actually have a lot of cool stuff. So in the stuff that we're presenting, we ended up with a lot of sort of day 2 stuff for this KubeCon. And fun stuff too. Like the one that starts off there is Jeffrey Sika and at least one of his collaborators are going to do Honk CTL or Honk Cuddle again. This is a live hack Kubernetes contest. So if you're into it, you download a kind image and then you try to meet a challenge that requires hacking Kubernetes through it. The name Honk Cuddle comes from the Untitled Goose Game. And then we have a lot of day 2 things like Ryan talking about admission control, the RookSef folks talking about how storage can fail, our performance, the performance group for Kubernetes, actually our performance group within Red Hat talking about scale and how they test scale and performance on an ongoing basis. So a lot of really useful, like for any people here who have already adopted Kubernetes in their environment or adopted other cloud native technologies in their environment, have them in dev, have them in test, are looking at moving to production. There's going to be a lot of great content.
Yeah. So it's packed. So I know we're leaning. We're talking about the Red Hat stuff. So I just want to quickly jump over and just show you that all of this, I believe, is set up. A lot of it should all be here on this Red Hat page. And so if you just Google that, quick, go past that. All of these things, I have avoided doing a keynote at KubeCon successfully until this year because I had no excuse because it was virtual and I couldn't say anything about it. So hey, but there's a ton of them. There's also maybe Jen, you want to talk about finding the raffle and doing the booth?
Yeah, so we're going to be promoting this landing page, which of course has a list of all the information about the Red Hat presence at KubeCon next week. And so I just have to make clear that if you're a Hatter or you work for the government, unfortunately, you're not eligible to enter this raffle. But we do have a bunch of Amazon gift cards we're going to be handing out. So all you got to do is go on this landing page and fill out your information. And then you're entered to win a $300 Amazon gift card. If you go to the Red Hat booth within the platform itself, we will be giving out Red Hat swag. And the swag that we're going to be giving out is a cool Red Hat. So be sure to do the landing page to be eligible for the Amazon gift card, and then come to the booth itself within the platform for KubeCon. And then you'll be eligible to win it's a really nice scarf. And we've got a bunch to give out. So if you'll drive by both those places, you'll get some pretty cool things.
Yeah, so there, I'm going to stop sharing. I'll throw the link to that landing page in the chat and we can surface that through the rest of the universe here. Yep. I think that's the right page, or that gets you to the arcade at least. So I think that's, I think that's the really, going to be the interesting navigation thing through the UI of the platform, trying to find the booth and all of that. So Chris, what are you, besides the office hours that you are hosting with Josh, what are you going to be looking at?
So, like, I always go and watch my friends talk, right? And I like to cheerlead my friends. I'm sorry, y'all are going to deal with that, right? Like, cheerleading virtually is a lot harder than sitting in the front row and kind of just being there, being that calming presence for my buddies. So like I will go to a lot of talks from my friends at Apple that have gone over there recently. Definitely my friends at CNCF, people like Stephen Augustus, if he's doing a talk, but Jiffy, right? Like he lives in Michigan. George Castro lives in Michigan. Bob Killen lives in Michigan. And then, like those talks I'll go to, but then Caslin Fields is part of the upstream marketing team. And that's the team that I'm working with right now in the Kubernetes community extensively. And they're doing a talk about like how we have all these tools to help you get the word out about your projects. But there's like, we need to get the word out about it. So they actually got accepted to do a KubeCon talk to talk about the marketing upstream team. And that's very, very cool. So I'll definitely be tuning in for that.
So how about you, Jen? Do you have a bunch that you're going to try and get to? I know. Are you on the menu this time, or did you get a talk in? Because I know you.
Oh no, I didn't submit a talk for this one, but I'm going to be bebopping all over the place. I mean, I actually haven't filled out my sched because I'm procrastinating. Of course, I'm going to check out your super awesome keynote. Woo!
Yeah.
And I do like the end user stories, and I'm going to look at the hatters. I'm going to try to get to everybody's session, even if I have to go after the fact and check out the recordings. But there's always super cool content that I love to attend at KubeCon. And I'm going to try to check out some office hours. So I don't know, like I'm a procrastinator. Maybe I shouldn't say that because I'm an event planner, but I procrastinate. But we've got some really, really cool stuff. And I always love checking out the community talks, right? Like, my love's for the upstream. So I enjoy kind of seeing what's going on in those projects. So I'll definitely probably check out a bunch of those talks.
Yeah, I think this one of the things that's amazing about this is I kind of feel like if I don't know, if I see a project, a maintainer project that I don't know anything about, I'm more likely to go to that. Like, what is it, ChubOS or whatever, or ChubFS, or like there's these new things popping up all the time, and for the most part, it's the incubated and graduated ones that got named sessions. But on Monday, there were 38 things in the sandbox. And then on Tuesday, I got an email, and I had to add, I think I have a Trello board that I track everything CNCF that I'm involved in or that I should be paying attention to. And I think I added 6 more sandbox projects. And I don't think all of them, like all 42 or 43 there are now, have any called out slots. But I look for the people who are leading those in some of this, like the SIG talks and other places, to try and, just catch up, because it's just this fire hose of information that we have to wrap our heads around and stuff. And I don't know, Justin, I can see your face on the screen here. Did you have anything that you were interested in going to, or are you speaking at KubeCon this time? I think that's just.
Heck no.
Heck no. Yeah,
I'm gonna listen to you all. No, I'm just on because I signed up for the booth babe duty for the chat room.
All right.
On Commons, OpenShift
Commons. All right.
Yep.
Yeah. Commons is going to be an interesting animal this year because KubeCon is there's just so many. We're doing the Rosa launch, that OpenShift on Amazon, serverless 1.1 launch announcement. We have some great talks. Stephanie Chiras, whom Chris interviewed a while back on OpenShift TV, is going to do our opening talk. We coerced Matt Hicks to give us 10 minutes of his time. And the 4.6 and beyond talk with live Q&A with folks like Clayton Coleman and Derek Carr and Mike Barrett and Annette Cluett and Paul Morey and Reese Oxham will be there. And theoretically, even though a lot of the talks are pre-recorded, all of the speakers have been asked and are willing to be there for the interactive chat bits. So that you might not see their faces or voices, but they're all there to answer your questions during the talk. So it's really an interesting thing trying to figure out how to make things engaging in this virtual world. And I was wondering if each of you had like a little thoughts about what you like to see in conferences, like how you like to connect with people and different things. What's the best thing you've seen in a conference lately for connecting? Chris, can you think of anything?
Yeah, I mean, there's always that common interest, right? And you have to figure out, like, who are those people that are there with a common interest of you at the same time, right? And it's harder now in the virtual landscape, right? But I think CNCF is doing the Slack channels again, right? So that kind of makes it a little bit easier to kind of figure out, like, okay, these people had similar technical interests. But like my technical interests are so like wide and like not very deep. So like I like to network with as many people as possible, and that is kind of easier on the virtual side. But I mean, you've got a volume of people there that you can like ping and talk to, and like you can walk into a chat room and be like, "Hey, I'm super interested in this," and people will chime in, but they have to be there to chime in, and that's kind of the hard part, right? Like, are you going to pass somebody in the hall wearing your, Thanos shirt and be like, "Hey, I work on Thanos," or something like that, and you're not going to get that. Whereas in the past, it'd be very obvious, "Hey, I work on that project," and you would talk, meet somebody randomly in the hallway. So trying to regenerate that experience, right? Like, I think last KubeCon, I did a lot of posting on Twitter, kind of like early in the morning to kind of preface kind of like how my day was going or going to go and what I would be doing. So I'll be doing a lot of that again so that I can like hopefully get people to the right place at the right time kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's it. How about you, Josh? What's your best tip for connecting with people? Like turning on your...
I need first best tip is turn on your mic.
Step one.
And I would say, make use of session chat where it's available, because the advantage of session chat is obviously you have something in common already with everybody else in the audience, right? Because you're interested in the session. And, to the extent that various people involved with KubeCon are offering sessions or extra activities that offer more interactivity than the sort of main program sessions do, take advantage of those, because interactivity means not just interactivity with the speaker, but also interactivity possibly with the other attendees. I think there's another security competition that's team-based somebody is running. And so obviously that would be a good way to sort of connect with people. The other thing is, I believe, Jen, have they confirmed that they'll be using CNCF Slack for the conference?
Yes. So yeah, we will have a Slack channel again for the conference.
So the conference channels will be on CNCF Slack, but CNCF Slack is actually available year-round.
Right.
So if you have a connection there, if you have a private chat with somebody there, you can maintain that after the conference, follow up with people after the conference, et cetera. If you look beyond the conference channels, there's a whole bunch of channels there for all the CNCF SIGs and a bunch of the CNCF projects and that sort of thing. And so it's a good way to connect with people that continues after the conference is over.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I'm noticing is, like, I'm pretty sure this KubeCon and OpenShift Commons are both inside of the Intrado platform, which is, you have to register and log in and be there, and you're there for the day. But then afterwards, it rarely, I don't think any of the chat's available or anything like that. It all gets turned off, and that you lose that. You can watch the talks again and repeat that, but both OpenShift Commons and I'm pretty sure all of the CNCF stuff is going to get uploaded to YouTube afterwards as well. So the morning after OpenShift Commons, hopefully everything will work out well, and I'll sync up everything. But then I'll make all of the content available on YouTube for people to share, and from all the talks. And I think I have 15 talks in 1 6-hour day. So there's a lot of binge watching that could go on afterwards. So like if you miss something, look for it in YouTube afterwards, or the night before a talk. Look for the old ones is what I tend to do, is to see if I've seen it before. So there's a lot of good content up on YouTube, both on RH OpenShift, our channel, and on the CNCF channel as well. So Jen, what's your tip for connecting online virtually? Any?
Yeah. I would concur with Josh to do the session chat. I find that the session chats are probably among the most interactive places I've seen, to be honest. And the upside of the session chat is a lot of speakers are watching themselves, so you can actually ask questions of the speakers as they're watching their awkward subs present. But I find that interactivity is probably highest there. And, and I'll just say that it's just really hard to replicate the kind of serendipity that you have with, like, when Chris was referring to going down the hallway and seeing someone with a t-shirt or even talking at the booth. And, it's hard to have those casual conversations, and that those casual conversations are sometimes, kind of springboard to larger conversations. So, I miss that part of events. We still get it sometimes. Like sometimes if I go into a chat, like a general chat, someone will recognize me, and then we'll have a nice little virtual love fest where everyone recognizes each other. So I do enjoy those moments. So part of it is just engage. If it looks like there's not a lot going on, feel free to bump the chat. There are probably people hanging out there in the background.
Yeah.
Like we
Very
try
good
to
point.
encourage folks on the Red Hat side, like if they see someone enter the room, to say, hey, how are you? We see that you've come in. But sometimes, folks aren't always super vigilant about that. So I would say if, you really have a question or something that you want addressed, go ahead and bump it. There's likely someone lurking in the background. They may have just been tired of doing 20 million greetings. You may be the one person they don't greet. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think it's between the Slack, the OpenShift TV, the chat rooms with the sessions, the chat rooms without the outside, and the booths, and there's a ton of places to go back and forth between. And I think I'll have 3 laptops set up. I don't know how many you guys are each going to have, but I know Chris has multiples here. But I'm going to have one for Commons, one for KubeCon with a different email address, because you have to have different, you can't have 2 Intrado sessions open at the same time, is what I've been told now. So just so you know, because I would guess it's because Intrado is using the video, that it would just, we couldn't. And so anyways, that's an interesting, but I think the other aspect that I really like about this is, and I'm going to use a word, I was teasing somebody yesterday about this, and this is where the bingo cards came up, was it's sort of the democratization of access to this content, because where Commons, we used to get between 500 and 700 people to an OpenShift Commons gathering that was side by side with KubeCon or Red Hat Summit. We have just under 5,000 people who have registered for the Commons event now, and I think the similar exponential growth in registrations for KubeCon. I don't know, Jen, if you know how many people have registered. They kind of never tell us that, really.
Yeah, and I haven't heard yet. They're they keep that pretty close to the vest. For EU, I know that they had, I guess, around the 20,000 mark, I think.
Yeah.
I'm guesstimating around there. And in person, I think was San Diego really a year ago?
Yeah, it was. I think it was.
It was like
Yeah.
So, so it's slightly higher. KubeCon does charge for their registration. So you can't really benchmark it like against Summit earlier this year, where we had a crazy number of registrations, partly because Summit was free, and also it was one of the very first virtual large scale events. And the trend that we've been seeing is that, there's kind of a drop off. I think there's a lot of virtual fatigue, like that's very real. So people aren't going to every single event that they can possibly get to. I think the people who are really interested in the topics are going, which I think is good news. I think you want to have people who are really interested and engaged with your content to be the ones going, and not necessarily the drive-bys that, log off after 10 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, but it's also a really good opportunity for things like people who are very new to Kubernetes. So I think there's quite a few things on the menu in the agenda for KubeCon for new folks getting involved. Is there a SIG contributor series of sessions, Josh? Onboarding. Is there this time around?
No, not so much.
We've
been working on making the new contributor workshop into a self-service online resource. But between the various things that have happened in 2020, everybody, and there's like 30 people working on that, but everybody contributing to it is running behind. So we're hoping to have something online by the end of the year, but we'll see.
Is that like a Katacoda class or something of that nature?
No, a combination of videos and text content. Not anything particularly complicated. So because it's not about using Kubernetes, it's about contributing to Kubernetes and getting involved in the community, which Katacoda is not really set up for.
Right.
And although one part of it, the technical part of it, the local build and test, is being put together by the folks in New Zealand. So Hippie Hacker and his crew is putting it together based on this interactivity platform that they developed for hacking on Kubernetes. And so that one we will actually have some also scheduled one-on-ones being offered once we get it up and running, because that way you can actually go through it with a mentor and share screens even intercontinentally. And this is actually something we talked about for a while, even before COVID had shut everything down, because due to the amount of schedule conflicts, the people who we really wanted to attend the new contributor workshop weren't necessarily the people who were showing up, because it was competing with 30 other events. And so we were talking about moving it online even before we had to move it online. But
yeah, we were talking about it in San Diego, how we could make this better.
The one bit that we do have for a different kind of new involved thing is, so there's also a SIG contributor strategy for the CNCF, which I'm part of, and we are doing a public session for people who have projects that are new to the CNCF. So there's this whole CNCF maturity process where you get in as a sandbox project, become an incubating project, you become a graduated project. And there's these thresholds of things you need to have for your project to reach each of those levels. And so we are doing a sort of micro workshop to help project leaders, whether they have a cloud native project, they're looking to get it into sandbox in the CNCF, or they have one that's, say, in the incubating and they're looking to get to the graduated level. I mean, it's one of the big things that we do as a SIG, and so we'll be doing it with a live Q&A during the conference. So if anybody listening actually is a project leader or organizer, community manager, product manager at a company that has cloud native products, and you're interested in that, please dial in for that. We'll have about 10 minutes of presentation, and the rest will be your questions.
That'll be awesome. Yeah, I think that I've got this idea in my head, though, is that there ought to be a way to set up a Katacoda lesson that walks you through doing your first pull request on a piece of documentation on a project. And I'm sure GitHub or GitLab or one of the companies have something like that too.
Part of the contributor workshop is we have like a sandbox for like testing your first PR, and that is part of the contributor workshop.
Yeah, it doesn't run on Katacoda. It just runs on GitHub basically. And it's a mock repository in Kubernetes SIGs, but it has all the bots enabled, which is one of the things that you're learning there, right? And so every time we've had people holding these at meetups where they hold their own mini new contributor workshop at meetups, and so they create a folder there with its own approvers and owners and stuff, and people can learn how that part of the process goes. There's obviously a lot more to it, but getting the mechanics out of the way means that you're not trying to figure that out at the same time that you're trying to get somebody to review your PR.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think that's actually I would hope that there had been more of a Kubernetes 101 talk or something. I didn't find one like that, like the very, very basics for very, very new people. Did anything like that get in the door through the CFP? I know you were on the committees.
Yeah, well, that wouldn't have been the track I was on, even if I had. And
I couldn't find one this time.
I just ran through Sketch while we were talking. I apologize for the dog in the background. I could not find one either.
Yeah, that's a
yeah.
Okay, it has not been a goal of the it has not been a goal of the conference chairs to have that kind of content.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it should be, maybe there should be, but that would honestly require the creation of an explicit beginner, newbie, whatever track. Because
I will. Yeah, I will just say, just from having been to almost every single KubeCon, that the demand for Kubernetes 101 content has increased massively. And that was actually one of the biggest pieces of feedback that I got from attendees that came by, was that a really strong desire for a Kubernetes 101. And so I don't know if there needs to be recognition that there's a shift in some of the attendee demographics, especially as interest in Kubernetes continues to rise. I don't know. I'm just going to put my 2 cents in there,
Yeah,
but I think it's something that maybe we need to consider somewhere.
yeah, and I think actually this may be significantly changed by the move to online. Because, I mean, let's face it, when it was in person, you had to buy a very expensive ticket pretty far in advance to get in.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, the number of people who got in who were cloud native curious was not huge. And I'm not sure that anybody's really looked at shifting the content. So the answer is to actually give that feedback to the conference chairs and the CNCF and say, hey, and I'll say, as somebody who's been a track lead for various tracks, we really need, that would need to be a separate track. Because if you're a track lead for the storage track,
Yeah.
you're not going to balance, say, what is cloud native storage against what are the latest features on OpenEBS. It's really hard to evaluate.
Yeah. So I think that it's also, you can go to tryopenshift.com or learnopenshift.com. There's a lot of vendor stuff, and I mentioned at the beginning, I'm on, I think it's Thursday, it's at noon or 1 Montreal time. Like, there's so many courses out there already. I'm going to be part of a master class on cloud computing, and we were rehearsing last night. But the very basics of what is cloud computing, right? That track is definitely necessary somewhere along the line, and I did see, I have to say, in San Diego, which is where the joke I was going to make earlier today is that we did gatherings in person on dry land. Then we went to the ocean, and we were on a boat in San Diego for the OpenShift Commons. I think that was us transitioning to this virtual reality that we're going to have to do next. We're going to be virtual, and next it's all going to be with my Oculus Rift, and we'll have a virtual reality OpenShift Commons gathering at some point. Everybody get your VR gear set up for that.
Is there any good VR gear that doesn't require me to log into Facebook?
We could have a long conversation about
Never
that.
mind. Sorry.
But I think that, the vendors do a lot of good intro level stuff, but it would be great to, now that we have virtual, because we have always talked about separating out to like contributor summits, and if you look at day 0, there's or other things like they have PromCom and all of these things, but just we'd be going to get a lot of newbies, I think, especially with the democratization and the openness and the lower cost there, and that's I think that's definitely on the radar, should be on the radar for the next go around. So I wanted to we have like 10 minutes left to talk a little bit about staying healthy and sane for a week of virtual stuff and what your tips and tricks are. And I'm going to show one more piece of swag. And I don't even know if this company still exists. I'm sorry if they do. Soylent.
Oh yeah, they still exist.
They still exist. They're around it. That was my swag from, I don't know which KubeCon, probably San Diego. But stay hydrated, drink a lot of water. And the other tip that I always have is on my iPhone watch. It reminds me to stand up every once in a while and stretch, because those are the two things. When you've got multiple screens going on and you're going crazy. For me, if I don't remind myself, and I even have the Breathe app, which I think is hilarious on my iPhone. It tells you when to breathe. Like, yeah, if I haven't been breathing for the past 20 minutes, then we're in trouble. But yeah, it's definitely a good one. So Jen, what are some of your tips for survival? For virtual booth duty?
Well, definitely stay hydrated and definitely walk around a little bit too. I mean, it's funny because the time can go by pretty quickly, and I'm still guilty of this because I feel like my virtual meetings. I mean, I've always worked remote, but the virtual meetings have gone way up. But definitely walk around. Take the time to interact with people around you. Like, go ahead and interact with your pets and your family. Make some time there. I think that's a kind of a sanity check, because one of the things, of course, that's missing from events is like actual interaction with live creatures. But, I would definitely, incorporate that into your day somewhere. And then, I would also eat, and we could all compare notes on the best virtual conference food that we have on Twitter again. We'll all take snapshots of our food that we're eating, and that's probably the best conference food that we will have eaten in quite a while. It won't be a weird, sandwich in wax paper with, mystery ingredients. So.
And the ubiquitous apple or banana.
Yeah. You can have you can get like, I don't know, taro chips or something like that. Something cool and funky.
Up our games. Yeah, I think that would be good.
up the food game. Yeah, that's what I think.
Let's see if you could do that. That would be good. How about you, Josh? What's your tip for staying sane next week?
Well, aside from the get up and move around, one of the things I actually have is I have an exercise bike with a laptop stand attached to it.
Very nice.
So that actually allows me to get some activity while still continuing to watch sessions. And do take breaks, schedule breaks in there. I mean, one of the things that you end up getting tempted to do, and cancel some of your regular meetings. If your coworkers haven't done it already, the idea that you're going to watch and participate in all of these sessions and then somehow pack your regular meetings and other work in between, it's just not going to work out well for you. Like you might do it for 1 day, 1.5 days, and then after that you're going to bomb out.
Yep.
And you'll end up missing some of the sessions you were the most looking forward to.
Oh, yeah.
So, and the other advantage of it being an online conference is, hey, if there's time slots that there's just nothing interesting in, skip those time slots. You use them as time off.
And I always remind people after the fact, if you miss something, or like if someone looked at my schedule right now, a lot of the sessions are in competition with each other. Like there's 3 in 1 hour. I know you were on that. I'm not going to rank on anybody, but it's like nobody knows what particularly my interests are.
I'm not involved in scheduling.
Scheduling is just a nightmare. And so just know that, go to the one that's interesting, and if you have 3 friends presenting it all at the same time, make sure that they know that you're going to watch it on the YouTube, and like with all the common stuff, it's going to be on RH OpenShift YouTube and the CNCF channel. You can always watch it later, and CNCF is really good about getting stuff up within the next day or 2 afterwards, and I really am encouraging people to Netflix binge watch the commons content. Do that thing where you get the digital nudge. It just goes to the next one and goes to the next one in Netflix. And I know that sounds boring to other people outside of this world, but it's really, I've been really watching a lot of other people create playlists and watching them. And you have it on the back. I have another screen I'm looking at over there, and it's just playing in the background. And you're like, oh, and it's subliminal. It gets in. Somehow it seeps in, and I now know everything about key lime that I never ever thought I would. And it's like little things, and even though I do all the commons briefings, it's not anything there. So, Chris, what's your super secret technique for?
Like, I do a lot of live streaming, right? So, like, that's my day job now. So I have a lot of handy dandy snacks that I keep on hand that are like literally right there, so I can grab them very quickly and not have to go very far. They're high protein snacks, very nutritious, low fat kind of thing. So like it's not something that I'm going to like reach for and just constantly eat, right? Like don't get your favorite snack to keep on hand, right? Like keep a snack that will sustain you, if that makes sense. And water, obviously, hydrating, walking around. I'm very fortunate in the sense of, what is that?
Box
wine.
Of red
box of wine.
If you want to know how I'm going to survive next week, it is the Apophis, whatever it's. I think it's a British Columbia. Is that where it's? No, it's California. So you guys can get it down there in the States.
Cool.
But yeah, a box of red wine is always handy to have. It's red hat, so it's all in there. So yeah, that's definitely that'll be empty by the end of next week. But
Because there are a lot of impromptu toasts going on, right, Diane? You'll be toasting
Right.
a lot of
Yes.
successes.
Congratulations.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Woo, cheers.
No, but definitely stay hydrated and do all the stretching and exercise things. And there are some really nice little happy hour things, Q&As in the evenings. Priyanka Sharma's hosting a number of them. So I definitely think there's lots of things you can do to stay sane. And not be overwhelmed. And, and I do think I'm going to have to host the bingo game. I think I might be figuring out how to print all of those, put up the PDF somewhere in Commons for people to download their own and print off their own cards, and we can see who plays bingo there. And all I got to do is add
Give them out during the gathering.
Yeah, hand them out during the gathering or something. And I think that would be, but there's also the buzzword one too, besides the names of the projects, because I think some of them like key lime or porter's in there. There's so many sandbox ones. It's like trying to find, and those are the ones for me that's really key. Like Argo, I know, Thanos, I know all of these things, I know generally what they are. Like you were saying, Chris, we know just enough to know where to point somebody to go to find resources so we don't look like an idiot too often. But it's really, I think, one of the key things is just to stay healthy and stay safe. And I'm going to throw up the red hat.
Throw up.
No, I'm not going to. No, I'm not going to throw up. I'm going to throw up the Red Hat screen. So if you're up for it, you can scan this in and get to the guided list of everything Red Hat. But I would say really think about there's lots of other stuff. Use Sketch. I use it because otherwise I forget to go to things. It's going to be an interesting thing. The Commons is going to be lots of fun. I'm so looking forward to having you do the science mystery theater version of it, and hopefully I will get it together to supply you all the URLs and links for everything, so that you have them handy for that. And then for me, the OKD working group again on Friday. This is just before the office hours that. We scheduled it so you could go to the open source OKD working group and then the OpenShift 4.6 office hours that Josh was talking about will happen right afterwards. So you can go from being an OKD fan. I just found out yesterday CERN is upgrading theirs to 4.6 as soon as we get OKD out the door for 4.6. We have a couple little bugs. So yeah, that made my day yesterday. I'll have to get them to come and do a talk at the OKD working group. But I think that's that's kind of what I was thinking would be the great thing is today to just kind of do this. And I'm going to stop sharing again for a second. But one of the things I think is that I miss is seeing everybody's faces. So I'm incredibly grateful for you guys coming here today, hanging out with us, and for everyone who's been hanging out in the chat and watching online. I'll put this up on our YouTube channel, but I do encourage you really make the most of KubeCon. Look for us in Slack, on Twitter, in the Red Hat booth. Try out for some of the Red Hat raffles and other things like that. But I think we should have a recap one of these after KubeCon, a week after. So I'm going to challenge you. The best online swag, and find the new person that you met. What new person did you meet that really you thought was a great connection at KubeCon? So challenge everybody who's out there. And so maybe in 2 weeks' time, we'll have another one of these sessions and recap what happened and do all that. And I would be remiss to say, if I have to say that I really wanted to give my condolences to Dan Cohen's family. He did a huge thing, lifting up all of the cloud native projects and building out this wonderful community. And he's going to be the thing that I miss the most at this thing, is connecting with Dan. So somewhere up there, he'll be watching us. Hopefully, maybe he's singing some John Prine songs and not really caring too much about us, but knowing him, he probably would be looking down on us. So thank you, Dan, for everything you did and putting up with all the headaches we caused you, but and doing it so graciously. So cool.
+1.
There you go. Well, it's 10:01, at least in my time zone. And I still have some work to do to get ready for the Commons. And I'm sure everybody else here has stuff to do. So thank you for joining us. And we'll see you next week at Commons and KubeCon and OKD working groups and office hours and on OpenShift TV. So take care all. And thank you for joining.
Yep. Bye, everybody.
Bye
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you, Diane.
Yeah, bye-bye.